First of all, education is about long-term memory. In a sense, that's kind of obvious, but it has to be stated. There is no point in studying anything at all if we're not going to put it into our long-term memory so that it continues to affect our ideas and our behavior for a very long time in the future. Learning to be a good musician, learning to be a good footballer is about getting something into our long-term, what you might call physical memory, as well as into our conceptual memory. So that's what the purpose of learning, purpose of teaching, purpose of education is. What makes teaching and learning so difficult is that the only way into long-term memory is our working memory. And human beings' working memory is extremely limited in its capacity. And that's the things that we have immediately in our mind. And probably none of us can have more than about half a dozen individual items in our minds at a given moment in time. And most of these items fade from our minds within about 30 seconds, roughly speaking. So that's a real challenge. So the teacher's task is to enable the transfer through working memory into long-term memory. And so the purpose of the curriculum is to facilitate the teacher's task. That is the only role for the curriculum. It's not to tell the teacher how to do it, but it's to tell the teacher what has to be done. What are the facts? What are the skills? Is the knowledge that the teacher should be trying to transfer from the curriculum as specified by the policymakers to the short-term or working memory of the students, and through that to the long-term memory of the students. Now, the key thing that this research, especially now the psychological research, has offered in the last, say, roughly 20 years, but going back some way beyond that too, is this concept of a schema. A schema can be thought of as a kind of conceptual system. It's the big ideas. An example of a schema is gravity. Gravity is a system, a set of concepts by which we understand that if I push this laptop off the desk, you won't see me anymore. It falls down to the ground. That's kind of pretty obvious. And every time we see something falling, we understand that that's an effect of gravity. In other words, we assimilate it to the schema for gravity. In this process that teachers are required to do, the way most efficiently to do it is to make that process into a matter of assimilating new facts into an existing schema that's in the mind of the student that has been built up in previous lessons or perhaps in previous years of schooling.